Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And in this episode, I have an organizational psychologist, born and raised in former Yugoslavia until the Bosnian War, and host in HubSpot Podcast Network's newest cohort to share with talent management teams to people managers on organizational psychology methods for employee retention, wellness, and engagement. Sanja Licina, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Oh, thank you, Dave. It's brilliant to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, thanks a lot for coming on the show as well. And, there's a lot to be said about corporate cultures and things like that. And things have changed during the pandemic as well. So I'm sure you've probably had a lot to say about that, the way things have gone.
So
work from home
so
and
much
stuff
to
like
say.
that. Exactly, yeah. And I'd like to throw in a few things that I learned, in my 30 years. Well, I joined the fire service 30 years ago in 1990 and saw kind of cultural changes coming in the fire service all the time. There's culture of this, and diversity and inclusion obviously was a big topic for me because I was one of the only black firefighters on my station, and then obviously women even worse, and then other diversity issues, obviously disabilities and things like that, and I'm talking about things like diabetics and things you can't see where firefighters have them. I had dyslexia, that kind of thing. So culture is a big thing, especially bullying culture, which I had to kind of put up with a lot. So yeah, we can have some notes to share, but I did notice one thing that I saw was that why 88% of people said it's important for them to know about company culture before they even join the organizations. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, I'm an organizational psychologist, and I've actually been that my entire career. And I started working with companies more focused on talent acquisition in the early 2000s, which is kind of funny to say now. It's a couple of decades ago. And at that point, we were studying employment brand and what is company image and who wants to work where. And I mean, fast forward 20 years, information is even more readily available now. Like it's almost, you either know someone who works somewhere, or you can go to one of the many different pages, Glassdoor, LinkedIn, to learn about an organization.
Indeed. Like that,
Yes. Like there's definitely no scarcity of information.
No.
And so what I love, this shift, and you mentioned the pandemic and things that are changing, and I love how mindful people are today, and how many more people are saying, listen, like I'm going to give my job my all, and I expect it all in return. And so when I'm considering where I want to go next, I want it to be a place that I love. And a part of that is going to be indicative of the culture. And not every single person is looking for the same company culture. But by now, a lot of us know, like, hey, these are the kinds of environments that I love and that I thrive in. And maybe these are some of the ones that I've tried and are not a good fit, or I haven't tried, but I don't want to try them yet. And so that's what we're seeing, that the people are increasingly more looking for more than just a job, more than just to wake up, whether you have to go into an office or a building or you're doing it from home, and that there's so much more that can be, that can come out of that. So I love that stat. It makes me so happy that people are thinking more holistically, and that people are saying, like, I have the right for this. It's not that, I need to do whatever it takes to get a paycheck. Like, no, I will give it my all, and I expect your all as an organization in return.
Well, absolutely. I mean, obviously, the organization will certainly be watching, looking to see. Okay, well, fair enough. If there's anything wrong, we need to really put ourselves right. But what are you doing that's right, and what isn't right? But that isn't totally the case all the time, is there? I mean, there's kind of things being swept under the carpet by cultures and stuff like that. So I mean, we
Absolutely.
see it in all
And
kinds of situations. I mean, for example, well, it's nothing to do with workplace, but I mean, obviously with the Grenfell fire, you know, you could see totally there were certain things, you know, people were just trying to
yeah.
get rid of the blame culture, you know. So,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
what happens. That's what happens, you know. So,
Yeah, well, and that's what I think, like, it's important for us to remember that we don't live in a rainbow and unicorns world and that things aren't perfect, but that more and more people are going to keep organizations accountable. And more these things that maybe that could be swept under the rug or keep hidden, all of a sudden it's much easier for them to become public. And so if you're in an organization and transparency is not your strong suit, you just need to be smart about the potential repercussions. And now, I mean, this year has been one of the most wild ones probably in the labor market. Like we started out talking about the great resignation at the beginning of the year and people changing jobs at a
mm,
higher rate than ever before. Now we're talking about organizations starting with layoffs. But one of the things that we learned that even with layoffs is that organizations will want to keep their best people. And during that time is oftentimes when productivity drops so much because there's fear, uncertainty for people. And so it is something that all of a sudden the market has changed so much that
right.
organizations just need to be very mindful about how they approach it. And again, it's not a flip of a switch. If you're an organization that doesn't have a very strong culture, it's hard to, quote unquote, get things perfect. But I think the stakes are much higher. And I was recently reading a report, and actually because of the pandemic, how much globalization of jobs accelerated. And so I
Oh wow.
actually currently sit in Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Oh,
And what's
okay.
made
You're there
me,
now, are you?
yeah,
All right.
I am.
I'm
I
actually
am.
in the Philippines right now, so I'll be back in
No.
London in a couple of months. So all my fans, well, actually, I'll probably, but this is pre-recorded, so I'll probably be in London by the time you're listening to this episode.
Yeah.
But
I
as
was
we
actually
speak
living
now.
in London before Buenos Aires. So
Oh, really? Okay.
you and I are start my
Whereabouts?
you're I was in South Kensington and
Oh,
working in
very
Shoreditch.
posh, very posh.
I
Oh
was there
yeah.
for 2 years, so I made the
Ah,
best of
okay. Yeah. My dad works
it
in
was
South Kensington in Victoria and Albert Museum, actually. So
oh,
yeah.
oh, I love that. Okay. We
Anyway,
digress, but I love that museum.
let's not
So
digress too much. So yeah,
yeah, coming back, coming
globalization.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
globalization.
so Buenos Aires, for example, has really, really phenomenal tech talent. And I was reading a report around how many global organizations are actually now hiring out of Argentina, how many
Mm.
organizations are hiring out of Mexico, for example. Why? Because if you look at labor wages, for example, I mean,
Yeah.
like UK is very different, Europe, the
Yeah.
US, wages are very different in a lot of other countries. And so all of a sudden now people are saying, well, wait a minute, if you're going to be sitting on your computer at a desk at home, if I can find a way to really broaden and go to a market I've never thought about, why wouldn't I do that? And so all of a sudden these dynamics are changing wildly. And where I studied market supply and demand for many years, where we would look and say, okay, where is the company headquartered? Where do they have offices? They're pulling people from there. The rules of the game have completely changed. It's a global
Yeah.
marketplace for many organizations. And so
Yeah.
now
Absolutely.
everybody's writing the rules and like learning the rules at the same time. It's like this really, really huge energy around it. And I think in many ways it's really exciting. In many ways, some employers are sitting there saying, what's going on? Like, how do I participate in this? Like, I can't even keep up with the rules anymore. But I have to believe it'll come for the greater good. But it's interesting how quickly things are changing now.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. Obviously, Philippines is the same, and it's been like that before the pandemic.
Mhm.
So it wasn't that much change, except probably it's called the call center capital of the world. I think India's a close second,
Yeah.
mainly because they're very wide English speaking nation. It's not their first language, but
Yeah.
with the low costs of labor charges,
Yeah.
a lot of customer service do go to the Philippines. You probably might have heard it when you've
Yeah.
rang
Oh,
a
I know,
mobile
of
phone
course.
company or something. So but yeah, so that's probably something that was probably brewing up anyway before the pandemic.
Hmm.
um but of course, in a job like mine, it's my previous job like mine, it's not possible. Well, I suppose you could recruit firefighters internationally, but they tend to be
a little more challenging.
yeah, it's a
Yes,
little bit more
definitely different consideration than like tech
exactly.
workers.
That's right. Yeah, and the organization psychologists would be more interested in more the psychometric stuff for assessments for promotion, which obviously I went for and things like that,
Yeah.
things like that, and of course diversity and inclusion in the culture and things like that, which I don't even know the organizational psychologists did much in the fire service about that, because they, kept coming up in the news, review after review, and every couple of decades that I've been in the fire service, saying, "Oh, the fire service is toxic. Oh, it's this has happened, whatever." So, but I think it's because you can't. It's like kind of bringing a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it, because it's
Yeah.
it's run by management, but psychologists
Yeah.
are there. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not part of the management. So, you're kind of in an advisory role, aren't you, really? A HR
Yeah.
role. You're with HR, but you can't
Yeah.
hire and fire people because they're not doing it right or wrong. That's the
Yeah.
thing. There's
It's a
some
very, very complicated area. And I think for me, it does break my heart because to your point, it's been decades I've been talking about diversity and inclusion, and now we've added equity and belonging, and
yeah,
still the needle is moving so incredibly slowly. And recently, a friend of mine asked me, what would you say to companies that don't necessarily care about it as much? And I said, the tough thing about what's going on now is that even the companies who do care still don't know how to fix it. Like they're so stuck in their own ways that the things that they need to change inside their business, if
exactly.
there's a
Yeah,
risk that it's going to impact the bottom line results, or that there any kind of way but positive, they're so apprehensive to make those changes. But I would rather work with those companies that are saying, I get it, and I want to do something differently, but I don't know exactly how, versus convincing someone. But yeah, to your point, I think a lot of times it is advising, a lot of times is, well, what's going to happen to me if I don't make a change? How critical is it? Is our business going to be shut down? What's the positive outcome if I do make a change? Because it's going to require effort. It's going to probably be uncomfortable. It's going to involve a lot of people. And it just gets pushed to the side. Like, we'll get to it, but we'll get to it after something else. And I hope I am seeing movement there more recently, still not as quickly as I would like to, but I'm hoping that, again, the more people are vocal, the more people are setting examples, the more successes we're seeing, that people are going to have that greater sense of urgency to do it, because I think that's what's missing. Like, usually, I hate to say this, but you think about health, and most of us know what it requires for us to be healthy, right? Like, we need to get enough sleep, we need to drink enough water, we need to exercise,
yeah.
all of those things. How many people do it?
Well, this is
Not as
it.
many
Yeah.
as we'd like, right?
No,
And
no.
so, but if you go to the doctor and they give you a really, tough diagnosis that say, like, Sanja, if you don't do this, if you don't make this change, like, you're probably gonna die. Well, let me tell you, I'm probably gonna start drinking a lot more water and,
Yeah,
exercising
yeah,
more. But like it shouldn't come to that point. It shouldn't be that critical tipping point or moment that makes organizations do it. There's got to be a way for people to realize the benefits, much like these other things. But unfortunately, like, I think health is a good analogy, because again, most of us know exactly what we need to do.
yeah,
Why are we not doing it more effectively?
yeah. No, you make a good point there, and again, it's down to culture, and getting back to the 80% of people that will want it to be important that they know about the culture beforehand. We had a firefighter, a black firefighter. Well, I mean, I just retired a couple of years before this
Yeah.
happened. During the pandemic, he committed suicide, and he was a trainee. He was a trainee, and it was during the time when the Black Lives Matter was going on and stuff like that. It's a global kind of thing. All kinds of things going
Yeah.
on during the pandemic, but the first year of it, all kinds of things going on.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that things. There was some inclusion things going on, I think, like bringing Caribbean food into the station and feeling left out, and sort of
Wow.
talking about certain things where he felt, you know who's being pointed at as a black person, you know, and feeling excluded. So, I mean, I did see that also that the differences, a question of what are the differences between diversity and inclusion and belonging, and why companies should strive for belonging in their culture. So I think I know the difference between diversity and inclusion, because inclusion is the opposite is discrimination, you know, which I've experienced. Diversity is when you see more of the, you know, I was one of the only black people in 1990, black firefighters. But of course, you see more of that, but then there's diversity in terms of other areas of, you know, it's not only gender and race, you know, there's other things that makes a company diverse, or you know, culture of a company, if you like. But why should people strive for belonging in their culture?
It's a brilliant question. I think you got the diversity and inclusion completely right. And belonging is, you know, when you think about it, I feel included in a conversation. I feel a part of it. Do I want to be a part of it? You know, do I feel like I'm making a difference? Do I feel seen here? Do I feel really heard? And is it a part of an organization that I really want to be? Because given a choice to go to different places, I feel like I'm making a difference here. And I do feel like in many ways, these are my friends, this is my family. I am a part of this organization. Not just that I walk in a room and I have a chair at the table. That's great. Do I love being in that chair? Do I feel like I can sit in that chair and shine? Do I feel like the words that come out of my mouth, somebody's really genuinely going to look at me and say, wow, that's a really good point. I haven't thought about that. Let me take that away, or we should do it, or like all of those kinds of things. But it's funny because I get goosebumps talking about it, but I think it's that sensation. And I think it's interesting because we start to think about it as a layer, you know, first step is diversity, then inclusion, then belonging. But that's how we feel like when we're apart in our family. That's how we feel like when we're with our significant others, with our kids, with our parents, or how we should, at least. Maybe not every person, but it's, you know, more of the norm. So that's what it is in the organization. When you go and you feel like this is where I belong, in lack of a better word, but like I feel like I'm an important part of this group and this organization. And I feel like it's reciprocated, that I want to be here and they want me to be here as well. And when you think about it, it's funny because it's a newer notion in the world of diversity and inclusion and equity and belonging, but it feels like just such a basic human right. Like, why would you want to be inside of an organization where you feel like you don't belong? Like that emotional stress, like I can't, how do you get excited to do the work that you do? Like, forget about going above and beyond your role. Forget about, you know, pushing the boundaries. Like even the basic day in and day out, if you're sitting there and feeling like an outsider, it's almost you have to use energy to just make yourself feel better about that. There's many better ways to use that energy. So I think to me it's a really important question, and I'm glad you asked that, and I hope that more people and more organizations are asking that and are thinking about it, because just because now it's a part of, you know, the name of some group or part of a movement doesn't mean that one, many people really understand what it is, and two, when you think about your own workplace, and it doesn't, we talk about culture, and I think culture is important, but I think it's also important to remember that every single person can help somebody else feel like they belong. And it doesn't have to be somebody's manager. Yesterday, I had a conversation with my colleagues about community at work. And if you find those individuals that really make you feel like you're valued and love having you there, it doesn't have to be your CEO. It doesn't have to be everybody in the organization, but you create that community. Like, not everybody in my neighborhood knows me. Maybe not even everybody likes me. I don't know. But I have people that do. And that makes me feel good. And I think that's that same idea inside the organization, that every single person can make an impact and every single person can make a difference. And I think to me, that message is so important, because when we talk about culture, to your earlier point too, it sounds like an HR thing. And it sounds like this department. And if I'm not a part of it, it's not really my thing. And are they doing a good job? And it's really how every single one of us show up every day that makes that difference, more than necessarily what structurally one single person or one single department can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you mentioned about stress, because the thing is, when I first joined, obviously there was actually more of a discrimination for women or against women, and it was kind of get off the fire truck, and there's the female firefighter. I worked with female firefighters in my first few years in the job,
Yeah.
anyway. So, but if there wasn't many around, I think it was only about 49 out of sort of 1,000 or
Wow.
maybe more. 6,000, I
Yeah.
think, firefighters. Anyway, the thing is, in London, this is, so when they saw a female firefighter jump off the fire truck in the days that I first joined, it's, oh, don't talk to her, you're not allowed to talk to her, don't go nowhere near her, and they're here
Wow.
to ruin our marriage and things like that, whatever. There's all kinds of things. I'm not going to talk about the names being called. I mean, I'm sure it still goes on now, but there's more female
I
firefighters have
know.
joined.
I know we're in a
More.
podcast. People can't see the faces that I'm making. Like, oh my goodness,
That's right. This is
no.
the video will be on YouTube, but I don't really promote the YouTube. I just do it because obviously the YouTube's out there. The search engine will find a podcast, and then they can go to Apple or their favorite one, or Spotify. But so I'm just saying it's a culture. I'm just using whichever characteristics, whether it's gender, race, disability, even. Obviously, there's other
Age,
characteristics.
yeah.
Even age,
Gender,
because
age, race, yeah.
all that came into it. But I mean, that wasn't as severe. But you could,
Yeah.
people could on one team be berated because of their age. They could really be ostracized and cornered and say, yeah, well, ask that old person over there, or if they're all young, whatever.
Yeah.
And it just goes beyond the line sometimes, and I'm just talking about my experience in the early days, but
Yeah.
the London Fire Brigade is under review at the moment because of what happened with that suicide. The coroner said, yeah, you better just find out what's going on with your culture. So this review's going. Sorry, my daughter's popping her head up in the background here. But
my son is downstairs, so you will not see him, but he is over there somewhere.
But anyway, so yeah, I mean that won't be done until November, by one of the most senior prosecutors in the UK, or he was anyway.
Wow.
Criminal prosecutor, that is. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, it's quite stressful. It's quite a stressful thing to be in that kind of where you're cornered and ostracized and things like that. I mean, I know you put that face because you wouldn't like to be in that situation yourself, would you? Knowing the theories behind it. I don't know the theories, although I retrained learning about resilience coaching and stuff like that, for firefighters, because there are other factors on the front line, PTSD, where you might see something. And probably 80% of frontline emergency services and military and even hospital staff, especially during the pandemic, probably experienced PTSD symptoms. Which brings me on to my next thing, so we won't go, stick too much on what I was talking about, is when you talk about, the root of burnouts and employees, because obviously this must be a big thing for my type of job, where you see a lot of stressful things, high stress, military as well, where someone's literally, their colleague next to them has had their legs blown off or something like that, It's just the things you see. But what can you tell me about that, in terms of getting to the root of burnout and
Yeah. Oh goodness. And it's so complicated. And I think for people, you talk about the firefighter job, and that is so stressful in many more ways than when you think about the physical challenges, the different emotional challenges. Like for me, oftentimes they say, I love my job and I love what I do. And I get stressed out because I want to get it right. But, every once in a while, I'll just think, okay, well, nobody is dying because of what I did. Like, for you, that's different. So it's this additional kind of stressor. I mean, what we're seeing is that there are so many different pressures, emotional, physical, mental, on people. There is so much going on, and it's also inside somebody's job, but outside of it too. Like the rules in the world have changed. How we live, like we went, we talk about the pandemic, but we think we're out of it. I don't know if we've proactively reflected on how just absolutely insane the last 2 years were, how much it changed people's lives, how helpless oftentimes people felt, how it was life or death, and you didn't know if you were, going to get sick, if your loved ones were, and what was going to happen. And so you have all of those things that you're not emotionally prepared for going on while you're still trying to keep a job, while you're still trying to maintain relationships. And so all of a sudden, like, I was recently talking about that as humans, the nice things for us who are not, in our teens or 20s anymore, is that we've had years of experience and you learn from those and you get different tools to cope for specific situations. And so when you encounter it, it's not brand new anymore. It might be a little different than what you encountered before, but at least you have something to go off of. In this, we didn't. It was just complete madness. And all of us looked at each other like, what do we do? How do we handle this? And so when you look at the workplace, we actually just we ran a survey last year and we ran a survey this year to ask how much does your job cause you burnout? And this year, 72% of people said very often or somewhat, compared to 82% last year. So 82, I was saying last year, like there's nowhere, you can't almost go any higher than that. Like there's got to be some people that won't feel burned out, but almost 3/4 of people still do this year. What do we do with that? Why are there so many stressors that we feel like we're reaching the point that we just can't do it anymore? And I study a lot the, professional and personal life blend. I'm trying to think of different names to name it because traditionally we talk about it, work-life balance,
yeah.
but yeah, but come on,
It's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as that, is it? It's not as
No,
simple.
and the thing
No.
is, like, it's like work is not life. Well, of course it is. And I was just having a conversation with someone yesterday. Said, the word balance is not necessarily like something you're like, yes, like I've gotten there. Like you want to thrive, you want to feel great. It's almost like the word survival. Like I'm surviving. I'm balancing. Like nothing's like fallen off the hinges yet.
Yeah.
um, but I think that'll be interesting when we look at burnout, all of these different aspects of our lives. And there's this theory. I don't know how super scientific it is, but I like it, so I'll mention it anyways. And it's called four burners theory, right? And it talks about like a stove, like a cooking stove,
Yeah.
and you have four burners, and it's family, friends, career, and your health. And according to that theory, you can't have all four burners running full heat at the same time because
Right.
it takes too much energy.
Yeah.
So how do you tune them in and out? And that's what I think that when it comes to burnout, that although work can be a really significant cause of stressor or not, that doesn't work in our lives in isolation of everything else that's going on. And so how do we manage all that? And you mentioned resilience, and I actually was just downloading a couple of books this week.
Yeah.
And I downloaded Sheryl Sandberg's and Adam Grant's book called Option B because I hadn't read it yet. It's been out a while, but
Right.
they talk about these coping strategies. And so I think there's so much to be done there because even if the term is not burnout, and even if we're not, feeling stressed out to the point of nervous breakdowns or, worst case suicide, what are the ways that we can actually manage our emotions better and manage our choices better? Because if I'm feeling like I'm being pushed to the brink in my job, or I feel like I'm being pushed to the brink in my relationships or as a mother,
Yeah.
how do I take a step back and say, wait, I need to change the rules of the game
Yeah.
because I don't want to play this game anymore. And I believe that it can be different. So I think there's so much to be done there. And I'm glad that people talk about burnout so much because it continues to push us to look for solutions and to look for a better way. Like there's still a much better way for us to be, handling stress and burnout than we are today. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are various ways now. People think they've got the solution, around it, but it's a difficult, complex.
Yeah.
With us, we've got what I've mentioned about the, there might not be equality issues or diversity issues or sense of belonging in the workplace. The culture might be bad, toxic, which is an issue at the moment, which I was talking about. At the same time, you're in a very high stress job, probably maybe under pressure with other things, especially during the pandemic. This is what was going on. But also you don't know what's going on at home. Generally, I think apparently this firefighter didn't have much what was going on in his private life, but there are things going on in firefighter's private life as well, believe it or not. So that adds to it as well, so you got to look at the whole person or whole life thing, really, haven't you?
Absolutely.
So well, that's an
and I would even wager to say that maybe sometimes your personal is bigger. I hate, work is not work. Work should be love and passion and all of it. Sometimes it's easier. Maybe for firefighters, it's a little bit different because I don't know the industry as well. I don't know how much movement you can have. In a lot of the knowledge working jobs, like if you're in sales, there are plenty of jobs out there. If you're in marketing, there are plenty of jobs out there.
Well,
I'm not saying it's easy to change, but sometimes your working circumstances are a little easier to change than getting out of a really difficult relationship or dealing with an illness of a family member or something that just seems so much more difficult. So to your point, it is the whole person. And I think it's sometimes maybe the collision of too many things at once from different aspects of your life that tip you over the point. It doesn't necessarily have to be, somebody looking at your work and saying your food is different or the color of your skin is different. It certainly doesn't help.
No.
But usually it's that bucket, right? The drop. When is it gonna spill over? And what is that last drop gonna be?
This is the other issue. I mean, as I say, things are being put in place in terms of behavioral and sort of health psychology, in terms of putting peers there to watch for mental health issues, and to say, look, listen, let's try and help you out here because we know there's a lot going on at home. You're going through a divorce, or your wife's doing this, or your husband's doing that, or whatever is going on. Because you get into more personal life, it's that close knit, in terms of the teamwork that goes on in fire stations. But there is this stigma about mental health, so some people don't want to talk about it because of the stigma, and also you could lose your job over it. It's like, well, any medical issue you could lose your job over. So people are sort of saying, oh no, I've got a heart condition. Eventually I had to leave the job a little bit earlier, but actually my pension was fine. It was, I almost did my whole time, and everything worked out the same as if I did my whole time. But nobody really wants to talk about mental health issues, yet everybody could be affected by it. Even the people that are just around this whole thing, morale could be low. There could be a manager that's stressing the whole team out, something like that. So this is the issue you've got, is the stigma of mental health and dealing with these issues. And that's a cultural issue in itself that needs to be sorted out, isn't it? Really.
Absolutely. And mental health, that's a whole other book chapter. Okay. Not even a chapter, that's a whole other library. But I'm glad you brought it up because it is something that it's really, really important for organizations to look at and support their people. And to me, it is wild that somebody could have a broken leg and people send you food and they give you support, but mentally you're not okay and people don't even know how to ask. You go through a death in the family and people pretend like it didn't happen because they're uncomfortable. They don't want to make you sad and I would bet that a death in the family hurts a heck of a lot more than a broken leg and a lot longer. So there are some big, big shifts that need to happen, normalizing conversations about mental health in general, not just like as a company culture, but then also inside the organization too, because I think that until we do that, it's just, again, such a significant part of who we are as humans that I can't believe how long we've been able to ignore it and not give the due attention to it. And now I'm liking the rise of the conversations again, much like other things. Like it might not be happening as quickly as we'd like it to, but at least it's there. At least it's on the radar a lot more than it has been in the past.
No, absolutely. Well, we'll let it lie there because that is an issue that's pretty lots of people will be an eye-opener to bring another conversation. Well, I hope we'll have you on the show again about that, but it's been really great talking to you. It's been really great having this discussion about culture in the workplace. And I was just interested in this 88% of people that need to know about the culture before they join, and I'm sure that will help a lot anyway for some people. They learn a lot about history, that sociology we're talking about, says a lot as well, doesn't it? Really. So it helps, I suppose, if you do learn a lot about it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's been really great having your expertise and talking about. So tell people how they can get in tune with your podcast. It's by the time this episode's out, it's going to be rebranded. So tell us more about how they can tune into you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the way, because we don't know the name yet, so it'll be hard to say, look out for this, but luckily I have a very unique name myself, Sanja Licina. So if you look for me on Twitter, if you look for me on LinkedIn, you will find me. I'm an organizational psychologist, as I mentioned, based out of Buenos Aires, Argentina right now. So look for me there and you'll find out all about the new, now it's called Work at Life. It'll be branded something different, but we talk a lot about exactly the topics Dave, you and I talked about today. So I think if it piqued somebody's interest, I would recommend they check it out and see. We talk a lot about burnout and mental health and well-being, and culture and much more. So thank you. Thank you for opening the door, and thank you for inviting me to your world, to your audience. And I just absolutely love the conversation today. Thank you so much for it.
Well, Sanja, thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing your expertise as well. That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.